Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff and Alec Ray here with me in the studio. Delighted to have your company, and thank you very much to each and every one of you for hitting the subscribe button. For those who haven't, and there's quite a fair contingent of you who enjoy watching the programme but haven't yet hit the subscribe button, we'd love you to do it. Come and join the football family. And if you are interested in going to the Champions League final in 2026, flights, accommodation, 2 tickets, then why not subscribe to PLZ Soccer's premium service as well. You'll get early access to our interviews and lots of prize giveaways to look forward to as well. And also I can tell you at this point that we've got our charity partner for the full season, Maggie's Cancer Care. If you or any of your friends or family have been affected by cancer, then this organisation, Maggie's, are a wonderful organisation who offer you all sorts of support during that very difficult time. Go to www.maggies.org to find out more. So let's reflect on Scotland 2, Belarus 1. Is it about the result rather than the performance, Ruffy? Where will we go with this one first?
Yeah, again, I think it's a bit of deja vu. You know, last week we were saying the performance was poor, but the result was important. I'm sure the result last night was very, very important. But again, I thought we were one backwards last week, yesterday, compared to last week. But I think he was honest enough to come out and say, you know, which was good. You know, he's obviously gave them a roasting in the dressing room, so they have to really improve, because if we put that kind of performance in the next 2 games, it's not going to happen.
What did you make of it, Alec?
I think it's twofold, really, Peter. I think first and foremost, you want the points on the board, and they've done that in both fixtures. I think performance-wise, it left a lot to be desired, and I think I admire him coming out. You know, it's difficult at times. You know, you're trying to kind of push something, you're trying to push a narrative, and encourage the fan base. But last night was extremely poor. And yes, I think there was if you're a lip reader, you've seen little Billy Gilmour at the end of the match, and he basically said, "Thank that we got the job done." And that's exactly, I think, the feeling amongst most players, and obviously Steve as well was feeling that as well, because the 6 points ultimately is what matters. But the overall performance, in and out of possession, I don't think he will come away with that thinking we got that right.
Yeah, this is what the manager had to say in his 72nd game in charge.
Possibly as disappointed as I've been over the whole 72 games. We just didn't turn up. But before I go down that route and you start asking me questions about why I'm feeling like that, it is also to point out that I said the other night that performances don't get you qualification. And tonight was certainly not a performance, but we got 3 points. We've got 6 points for the double header. So we're really pleased about that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said my piece on social media on it, Ruffy. I've never witnessed a game like it. It was so flat. It was dire. I think the life has been sucked out of the Tartan Army going to games. I thought Greece was a low point, but overall, as Alec mentioned, the result is everything. But I'm watching the game thinking, you know, you couldn't, in your day, you gave me a photograph the other day of you walking out against Argentina and the whole crowd. You know, you've got Lion Rampants, you've got the Saltire, you've got the Hampden Roar. It wasn't even a whimper. I mean, they burst into Flower of Scotland at one point and it finished about 3.5 seconds later. And when I'm listening to the crowd, there's no anger. It's almost as if the life has been sucked out of them and they've thought, this is what we've got to watch. So there's no real difference in emotion. It's just, we're watching it. It's going to go back to the defence. It's maybe going to get into midfield. It might get to somebody who's going to run a defender, but other than that, it's ba-bum, ba-bum, back to the back, across, left back, right back, and then hope that you can somehow get near the opposition. And this is an opposition that I thought we should have been absolutely battering. it's one of the worst performances I've seen in a long, long time, but we got the job done, and I think the manager has to get the credit for doing what he says he's going to do, but it's painful to watch Scotland.
It is painful. I think the disappointing thing is we don't murder teams. No, we don't go at teams. We don't beat teams like Denmark and that. They beat teams 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. Our fans are not used to that. It's not our style of play. We are a very, very good side, and you've got to give the manager a lot of credit. We're a hard team to beat, but when we try to win games, we leave gaps all over the place, and we get played through quite easily by even the small teams. I would just like to see is, they need to now go to Greece, and we need to take something out of that. I've said all along, for some unknown reason, I think this game will go into goal difference. And these two games,
Goal difference for us, Ruffy. We're so far behind them in goal difference.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We have to take something in Greece.
Yeah.
No, and that's not easy to do, But I think we're the kind of team that, in the way we play, I thought the supporters would be used to it now. He sets up the stall not to lose goals, which is great. Very good organisation. When nobody murders us, we're hard to beat. We're the kind of team that if we score first, we're going to win the game, because we're so organised, and that's the way we play, and that's what we're good at.
Alex, should we be...
Can I just ask Alex something?
Sorry, Bruffy. So see, on that point, we're hard to break down and we're hard to play against. See, against Greece, and I spoke to you prior to coming on here, I felt that I was watching an elite team. When you talk about the Spains, the Germanys, and they're just carving you to death. When I was watching them against Greece, the manner they went through the gears and then get into our goal and created numerous chances, even the one that flashes across the face after, early on in the game. And I'm thinking to myself, I almost feel as if it's there. Now, you watched last night's game and the opportunities that Belarus caused us as well. I think you're saying we're hard to beat. I think if the opposition's slightly better, I think they won that hands down over them. And that's what I'm trying to say, that if they were more clinical at the top end of the pitch, I think we could potentially have lost them 2 games. But it was only because we were playing against Greece and Belarus that we got the job. So
that's what I'm saying is when we go and try and win games, we'll leave ourselves wide open. When we don't have to go and win the game and just see it out,
well, obviously,
we're
like
really
Denmark,
good.
when we were away in Denmark, that type of thing.
Yeah,
so
that type of thing. Yeah, but I was going to say to Alex, because Alex in the game's long enough with me, when you play against a team like that who are like ranked 100 or so, and then at the end of the day you look at the stats, they had 22 shots. What does that say about our team?
Well, I think that's one of the things that Steve Clarke said after the game. He's going to be reflective of, really analyse, both games. And I think it's important to do that, because you're going to be up against Greece on their own backyard, and then obviously Denmark when they come. So they're going to have to improve in both elements, top end of the pitch. And then obviously, because if you think about the offensive actions as well, and I know Shea Adams, he does well, leads the line. Ben Dokes, you're looking for that spark, and I think he's got a bright future. But I think over the piece, I think his final ball left a little bit to be desired. But other than that, you remember you used to get like Andy Robertson charging down the flanks, and then you're getting wave after wave attack. I just didn't quite see any of that.
I didn't see any of that at all. Listen, I think we're in a kind of a crazy situation where you've got to pay tribute to the manager for where he's getting us, because of the fact that we've been to 2 major championships, regardless of how easy people presume that it is to get there. He gets
Absolutely,
us there. Yeah. The World Cup is something that we've craved since 1998. Craig Brown, I don't know if you remember, Ruffy, but Craig Brown gets slaughtered for the way he set out his team. And by the way, Craig Brown had 10 times better players in some positions than we have at our disposal. And I take Andy Robertson out of the equation. He's a Champions League winner.
Absolutely.
But he gets slaughtered because of the way he lined up and the way Scotland were difficult to beat and methodical in the way they went about. The way they went about their business. But my God, we're taking it to new depths now. I don't see, if I was being critical of the manager and the way we're playing, it's absolutely turgid. It's flat. You're actually getting to the point where you're saying to yourself, of the 12 or so shots. How we even get to getting the 12 shots is a long, slow process. As Alex said, you're looking for down the flanks, getting the ball in early. Now, Curran some slack. He had 4 or 5 changes in the side. He changed the back line. He had McKenna in there as well. I mean, when we're looking for him to be proactive when it's not going according to plan, and remember there was a big long wait to see if they had scored or not. When he actually changes, you're thinking to yourself, woof,
2 defenders.
here comes the excitement. Suter and Tierney. I mean, how to flatten what was basically me lying on the floor thinking, can this get any worse? No harm to Suter and Tierney, but for God's sake, any chance of lightening it up and saying, listen, we need to drive forward here. We need to win this game.
I think it's just the style of play that he plays.
Exactly,
you know, the players.
it's
And Alec touched on it. We don't have any wide players who get you off your seat. You know, away back, don't get away back my day, John Robertson on the wing, getting in there, flying balls into the box, playing with 2 strikers, no 1 striker, and finding the ability and the confidence to go at teams. I just don't think we go for particularly at home. How come Denmark can win 6-0 against this team and Greece can win 6-0 against this team and we struggle to beat them?
But that's my point, Ruffy. I think, and by the way, I don't know if I'm being... I don't know myself if I'm being bang out of order by saying it's bloody awful to watch. Should we be playing more progressive football? Yeah. Should we be looking and saying to ourselves, well, wait a minute, other managers play a different style?
Yeah, no, I make your point. No, I don't think you're being too critical here when you're having a go at what you've watched over the last 2 games. And I actually think the manager thinks that as well. You know, obviously they get a couple of set-piece goals on Thursday night. And then a late mistake. But when you're looking at it overall, I think what you're trying to say is an identity in how you play. And then, because as you said, they're well organised, they're well structured, but you're not actually getting off your seat. And but his counter-argument to that, I would imagine, was, well, wait a minute here. With the tactics, I've managed to get us to 2 major competitions, potentially getting to a play. We've definitely got the playoff now.
And that's why I think all of us, excuse me, are open to the counter argument, because the criticism is it's not the way I like football. And I'm not being a purist and saying, I want Brazil 1982, I want flex tricks and triangles, but I'd like to see something, and I think we can get more out of the squad. My argument to that is, yeah, you're right about we got a 0-0 in Denmark. There was a ball that was put over from the right-hand side that if we had a half-decent striker, Dykes would have scored instead of taking 2 touches and the chance was gone. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do,
It was a brilliant opportunity, Alec. And a good striker hits it first time and maybe hits the target and we win 1-0 and changes the whole complexion of the group. But we haven't got those players. Yeah. And for a long, long period, Alec, we haven't had a settled defence, so we can't defend sometimes if we go a goal behind. And then we can't score
top end.
We haven't got we've got a plethora of top drawer midfielders.
Yes.
But other than that,
yeah, but I think that's been the problem for a long time. It's not just this generation. And see, even if you go back, I don't know how long Dykes has been in the mix, but before we didn't really have anybody of that profile. We had like Lee Griffiths and so forth. So it was someone to lead the line. And believe it or not, when Dykes was at Livingston, I said, because he was eligible to play for Scotland, I said, I would throw him in the mix. It's a totally different, but you're absolutely right. He is, with the greatest respect to himself, he scored 10, 11 goals or something for, which is a good return for him. But talking about the top end, 1 chance, goal. We haven't had a player like that for a long time. I can't even remember. You maybe have to go back to McCoist and Mo Johnson, that type of generation.
See when you come to team selection against a team like Belarus, who again is ranked, why are we not playing 2 strikers? Why are we not playing 3 at the back, 5 in the middle and 2 up? Why are we not giving ourselves a chance for somebody wide to get into their positions, flash balls across, instead of just one guy having the chance, you put 2?
I think 2 strikers through the middle is kind of,
they're not even brave on the ball, Alex.
No. Listen, I have to be honest with you. It was a tough watch, particularly last night. I know for the last 30 minutes of the Greece game, then we got a little bit more momentum.
Yeah.
But over the 2 pieces, I was struggling to kind of get enthused. But the next couple will most certainly kind of get us going, because it's either at business end now and you've put yourself in the right trajectory to get something.
And I think that's where we've got to be complimentary
Optimistic, yeah.
towards the manager. I'm loath at times to actually say, it's so dreadful to watch them. There's no excitement when I watch Scotland. It's almost as if the life's been sucked out of it and you know what you're coming into. But I've got to give the manager credit because we are suddenly in a situation where we're still in the fight. But can I see as if we play that way, and can he change it? You've been a coach, you've been there with Philip Clement, you've been there with countless other managers. Can you get to a situation where you suddenly say to them, listen, this is Greece, they're out of it. Can you go and take the game to them?
Yeah.
And by the way, Greece are no mugs. They're a good side.
No, I was impressed.
They're 10 times better than Belarus.
That's right.
And their coefficient in the FIFA rankings suggests they're way better than them. So they're well capable of tanking us over there. But can you then say to a team, right, okay, I'm now going to pick a team that's got to go and win the game. You know that problem that everybody talked about with your Rangers side?
Absolutely,
Which is basically, you can win games in Europe, you can be really impressive, you can get up for a Celtic game, but try and take the game tomorrow.
it matters.
You can't get it.
Well, it'll be interesting because I think I'm going to come out with one, and it's a wee bit early doors now. I think over the two upcoming fixtures in Greece, I think you'll see a very similar performance. Because see if they get a draw against Greece, and then the head-to-head, then you're still not enough, is it? So you've really got to go there and win it. That's correct, isn't it?
You've got to go and win.
Yeah, so listen, he's probably going to have to take the game or keep it condensed for an hour and then throw the sink at it, because ultimately then you're never going to make the goal difference up, even if you do beat Denmark.
But here's my fear, Alec, on your line there. I'm glad you've jumped in and said it. On that point, that we get to an hour and we've got to have a go for it. I'm sitting in a stadium in Germany at the European Championships, and I'm saying to myself, Switzerland are there for the taking. There's 15 minutes to go. Put James Forrest and Lawrence Shanklin on. Have a go. If we beat them, we can go to the Hungary game, and if we can beat them, we're into the next stage. Yeah. We've never been beyond a group stage before. But what does he do? He puts on, what was the name of the guy who used to play for Celtic? He came from St Mirren. He puts on a striker that had it didn't even, he's gone to play in America. God almighty, I can't even remember his name. But he puts on two or three players, and I'm thinking, what are you doing?
It's not Commons now.
He played up front.
The boy,
that came from St Mirren. Anyway, he made substitutions that beggared belief, and they were all reactive. They weren't proactive. And he didn't do it in those games when the Tartan Army were saying, come on, have a go or we're out of the European Championships. We've been thumped by Germany and we've got 2 games that we could potentially go through.
Morgan.
Lewis Morgan.
Oh, Lewis.
Yeah, thank you, Ruffy.
I hear I signed him.
Hey?
I signed him. I tried to get him down in England as well. Lewis. But you know the interesting thing? There's one for you. So see when he goes, we're going to reflect over the 2 games. He's obviously got his experience for what you're talking about when he's playing in that particular game. Is it Hungary?
Yeah.
So he has got experience over these 72 games. This might be the case because he's leaving after this campaign, isn't he?
Definitely.
So he might go, do you know what? I've got nothing to lose here. It's the last throw of the dice. And he might be more adventurous over in Greece.
In game 73, Alec, you honestly think that's going to happen?
Well, listen, Peter, I'm trying to kind of keep the punter's side. Come on, he's all sleeping there.
Yeah.
I love the way you're doing it.
No, but you never know, do you?
Well, I want him to do that. I really want him to do that, Ruffy.
Well, you might be watching the show.
By the way, Denmark are playing Belarus. Denmark are going to give them another tonking.
Yes, the goals
so the goal is gone. So what they need to do is they need to go and win against Greece and then tonk Denmark at home with the Lion Ramp. I know how you love flags, Ruffy. Lion Rampants, bring your Lion Rampants, remember them. Bring your saltires and go and make an atmosphere to remember. But I have to admit, I don't think that's going to happen. If he didn't do it a European Championship group stage where we had the chance to create a bit of history, what chance has he got of doing it in these 2 games? I don't see it.
No, I think it'll boil down to the last game. I don't think we're capable enough to go over there and beat Greece. I do think we're capable.
But Ruffy,
I think we're capable enough to get a draw.
We could have stole the game against Denmark.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
I don't think this is beyond us. And don't forget, and you made a really good point earlier on about they're done and dusted. It's like this pride thing and all that. But sometimes you come into international football and you're kind of...
New people coming in.
And then they might actually throw new bodies in. They might give people a game. from the younger team. You just don't know for the under-21s. Or he might try and save his job.
Yeah.
If he's
I've actually
Or he
resigned.
might play Karetsis from the start and say, by the way, you're the
you
hot
go.
young kid, on you go, take on 3 and fire it.
I
in
think
the net.
he's more than capable of getting a draw over there. More than capable.
Come on,
it's
Morocco,
going to
try
be the
to be
Denmark
optimistic
game.
today.
No, it's going to boil down to the Denmark game. It's going to boil down to beating Denmark. That for us to get there.
Yeah, listen, I hope you're right, Ruffy. I genuinely do. But by the way, you know, and thanks to so many of you, I've got to read out some of the comments here because I think it's only right and proper. Some people have obviously...
Ruffy for Drumchapel.
Well, I was just about to say, yeah, don't worry, we're getting to that. But we've got this from Matt. He says, why are we not playing 2 strikers? That statement says it all. The formation leaves a striker with a midfielder up like Christie or McGinn. Boring football. So many people. Belarus must be embarrassed losing in that game last night. It was embarrassing. We're not qualifying for anything, nor should we. This manager needs to go, says Tam McSkimming.
He's gone after the campaign.
Kenny says Bowie needs to get a chance. I have to be honest with you, I'm caught in that situation where am I being disloyal, criticising him because he's getting us to the edge of qualification? Am I asking too much to think I think we've got the players to play a different style of football. I'm not necessarily asking the Scotland manager to play gung-ho, but I'm hoping that they're a wee bit more adventurous. I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you how dire we are at times. About 4 or 5 games ago, we were craving Ben Doak to be starting and getting in the side. Well, we're hoping he didn't pick up that injury. We were laying all our hopes on a guy who could maybe beat a man to come into the side, Alec.
Yeah, no,
that's how bad we have.
Yeah.
We are as far as unearthing players who can come in, technically gifted. We're relying on your John McGinns and your Scott McTominays and maybe your Ryan Christies to score his goals from the middle of the park because we haven't got strikers, and we're hoping that somehow the back line doesn't gift him a goal.
Yeah, well, it's a thing you can't complain Stevie Clark about. He's picked all the most available players.
Has he missed
any? Left any right out the squad? I think he's not.
Is there anybody, Alec?
I don't really see anyone jumping out. I like the boy Bowie. I think he's got an opportunity to really kick on. He looks as if he's got a presence. He looks as if he's got an eye for goal. And it's good to see him slowly getting introduced. And whether he has a bigger part over these next couple of games, I would like to see it, Peter, because I think he brings that youthfulness. He charges about. But we can't overlook, and you're absolutely right. This is an interesting, because I feel as if this is a kind of transitional moment with the players as well. Andy Robertson, McGinn, McTominay. So there are a lot of experience kind of getting to that.
This is the last hurrah.
That's exactly right. So I quite like the fact that McGinn and McTominay arrived late into the box. McTominay did, because you're saying, oh, is that all we've got and things? But there has been a bit of success with the 2 guys kind of constantly scoring. Again, it goes back to the top end of the pitch. You've got that real bit of quality that's going to make a difference at that level. You hear ex-international players, and you know this better, talk about international football as that next jump, you know, because you're up against better quality players than your domestic stuff. And that transitional moment, that's why I'm saying for Bowie, I think this will be good, that he's just had that little taste and maybe give him a little bit more.
Yeah.
But he's really the one that kind of... Actually, the wee boy Doak, I actually think he's a terrific little player.
He's got no final ball.
Yeah, and I know that, and I think that's obviously something they need to cultivate, and he needs to find when it's to release, when to shoot, and so forth. But that will come because, don't forget, he's not playing for his club at the moment as well. So that kind of, you know, you're coming into the games when you're not really at the top end of your game. You're not terrorising fullbacks on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, I look and I say to myself...
Do you see anyone from the outside?
By the way, Bowie's had a really hot period there, and now he's just gone off the boil a wee bit, where you're saying, well, he's not grabbing the games. Hibs are having draws when they really have got to convert them into points. That's why this weekend is huge for them to start getting wins, because you can only hype them up so much. We thought they were going to have a really good start to the season. They've had too many draws.
Yeah.
They've let too much slip because their back line can't defend. He's got the same problem at Easter Road as Scotland have got at times in games. But we don't have anybody. We don't have a prolific striker. I mean, realistically, everybody was talking about how great Lee Griffiths was when he was there. He scored 2 free kicks.
Yeah,
He scored 2 free kicks.
Yeah.
His goal scoring rate for Scotland was not fantastic.
No.
He scored 2 free kicks against England, and everybody thought he was the bloody messiah. We haven't got strikers.
The only one that I can remember that got us off our seat was James McFadden. I thought James McFadden ran the line, you know, took people on, you know, lifted everybody, and I haven't seen anybody since that.
Yeah, although I have to say, Ruffy, in our finest hour of a game where we thought we're going to get absolutely, here's a great Scottish word,
Tonked.
we're going to get well tonked, so another one, mollicated. Billy Connolly at his absolute best, but we're going to get battered in France. But with all due respect, Ruffy, even Alec, who was the manager then, he had 10 guys. I mean, Fletcher went off after about 26 minutes. He brought on Stephen Pearson, and we had about 11 behind the ball.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
James McFadden had a nutmeg on the halfway line 6 minutes or so into the second half, and then we had one shot and goal where he hit the roof of the net. I mean, for God's sake, you know, we've always been that way. I'm not expecting us to play free-flowing football, Ruffy, but for God's sake, I'm expecting a wee bit more from that team.
Yeah, I said that. I think against a team like Belarus, we should be 3 at the back with 2 wide guys who are really getting forward into their half and flashing balls across the 2 strikers. Give us a chance. You know, okay, the boy scored Shea. He scored, but I think you need somebody else to take the pressure off. I didn't even have anybody playing off him. Now we used to have McGinn.
Well, McTominay was kind of the one that was kind of trying to support him, but I actually thought Shea Adams' goal was top drawer. I thought it was brilliant. See the way he shifts it onto his left peg and then drills it into the bottom corner? Yeah. I thought that was a brilliant finish.
The Flying Scotsman, it says FFS, which is short for he says, give it a rest, Peter. Obviously, because the Flying Scotsman is undoubtedly part of a Tartan army who are, this is it. This is what we're used to. We're taking.
Get on with it.
Get on with it, which is fine. I'll take that on board, because quite simply, when the point was put to John McGinn at the end of the game, what about the way you're going? What about the play? Do you understand how flat this all is? This is what John McGinn had to say.
Well, they're there and they're always there, home and away. So they've seen many special nights here for this group of players. Many turgid nights. I think tonight was probably one of the most disappointing performances. But I think if we all reflect together as a country, as players, coaches, supporters, what would you rather? We play teams off the park as a team and lose the Scotland way, or get the 3 points on the board and worry about the performance after. So we're not getting carried away at all. We thank the fans for the support. They were hearing the numbers again today, and I'm sure in Athens and back at Hampden next month they'll be back again.
Yeah, they will, because it's probably part of a package. But this time around, I think we're at the business end, as Alex says.
Yeah, I mean, the Greece game coming first gives us a chance to go into the Denmark game with everybody on a high. You know exactly what you've got to do. I do think we're capable enough to go over to Greece. I don't think winning, but drawing would do me, because we've got to beat Denmark anyway. Yeah. You don't want Denmark coming knowing that, well, a draw might be good enough. A draw will be good enough for them.
And by the way, the final twist in it all, Ruffy and Alec, that we can't forget is we're in a playoff.
Oh no, absolutely.
But the playoff looks mightily tough.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the permutations.
Is it second in every other group?
Well, potentially you could have teams like Poland and so forth, and then even if you get through there, Poland, Ukraine, and then you might end up with Italy in the final. So it's a tough route to get to. And listen, we all step back. We've got 6 points, and I agree with him. It's always about the points. It's the big, and then worry about the performance. And but if you listen to him today, and I'm not even going to the word, his Twitter feed today, he says it was utter. The actual performance last night was that. And John McGinn on Twitter was basically saying it was jobbies. Yeah. You allowed to say that? Shite. Oh, you're right, okay. I'm not sure. No, it was jobby. I wasn't sure if you allowed to say jobby.
You can swear, but every now and then,
I try and keep it kind of real. I'm for Denniston, you know what I mean?
I always thought you'd have gone early in the first couple of minutes.
Do you think we were lucky with the free kick in the halfway line?
Very lucky.
Do you think that was a foul?
He comes
He
across
catches
his
him.
knee, though.
He just catches him. Slightly catches him.
You
But
know?
the thing is, it's. I think if you'd scored that goal, you'd be raging.
Absolutely.
And if on the other side, if you could conceded, you'd have been looking for it. But I have to say, it was borderline.
Listen.
But listen, and I don't want, because Andy Robertson's probably been one of your
Yeah, he
best
just got
elite
caught.
players.
Yeah.
He got caught twice last night.
Absolutely.
You know, caught with his wrong foot. He was kind of on the back of his heels.
Listen, Chris Fraser. Some people really are able to, because of their command of the English language, elaborate on the performance and put it across so eloquently. Chris Fraser has shite. That's what he says. That's what he says. Nothing more, nothing less. Hasn't needed to actually. He's put a couple of extra full stops in, but other than that, he's kind of summed it up. But I will, as the Flying Scotsman says.
I'm looking forward
Don
to it, Peter.
Clark, here's the best line. Don Clark says, "Well, Peter, here's the question: do any of the three of you believe that Scotland will qualify automatically?" No.
On that performance, no, but I think we've got something in us at the end of the day. I think we're capable enough of beating Denmark at home on any given night.
And you think we'll get a point in Greece?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, as much as I was disappointed with both performances, I'm really, really hopeful, and I actually think the players will up their game as well because it's better opposition.
Yeah.
That might sound mad. I think it might actually suit them better, where they can be, you know, a wee bit more kind of structured and don't have to chase the game. And I think that suits us better, Peter, because we're up against, because they'll be more expansive, they'll be in your, and we might just carve them. And I'm hopeful that we can actually get the job done.
Yeah. We're all hopeful. Give me your answer. Are we automatically qualifying?
No.
No.
Just on what I've seen, but I think we've still got a fighting chance.
Off to the playoffs then for you.
Yeah, but I still don't.
We're in the
think-
playoffs
I know,
anyway.
I know that, but I still don't think it's done and dusted. I think there's potentially we could actually get a result over in Greece, and then with a full house at Hampden, then maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, but no.
I'm going for a draw in Greece and a win at home.
You've gone Mr. Optimistic again, haven't you?
Yeah, because I want.
Great weekend.
No, do you know what he's like? He's like he's like a cockerel.
But it's fortunate. I mean, the reason I'm looking at
By the way,
Yeah.
you've delivered a Scotland performance in the Drumchapel Amateurs 75th anniversry dinner.
Oh, right.
You've delivered a Scotland performance.
I still got a
You
big.
were-
If somebody had a hook and there'd be no way.
You were rank rotten. It's the worst dinner speech I've
Yeah.
ever heard in my
I
life.
can't argue with that. Do you know what the result was?
Yeah,
They walked out the door like that.
exactly. Honestly, it was the worst. And after gag number 4, I just said to him, "Get
Call it a
out.
day.
Yeah,
Call it a
stop
day."
it, stop
by the
it.
way, no, I said to him, we're bringing on Tierney and Suter. Get off, you're rotten. But anyway,
I stupidly turned around and said, "How's my performance?"
Just don't know. Do you have the bat ready?
yeah, it was poor. But nevertheless, listen, okay, Denmark 3, Greece 1. Here's the table. Let's have a look at it, see where we are. Well, give us your thoughts on it. Denmark, 10 points. Goal difference, I think, will be out of sight by the time Denmark come to Hampden Park. So it's all about, can Scotland get something against Greece? If Greece really get any motivation other than maybe, as Alec pointed out there, blooding the next generation of players that want to try and impress the manager. Belarus, just a whipping, boys, and boy, they'll get whipped with Denmark in the next game. So, will there be an atmosphere that's in total contrast to what we witnessed? Only time will tell. Right, let's get on to the Rangers, because quite simply we have to. Do we have to? What a weekend! And again, listen, you spend your life constantly, looking at, speaking to people, your contacts. Sometimes you're in the know, sometimes you're not. Having operated as a journalist like that, where I had to call managers, players, agents, in my younger days when that was my bag, was trying to break stories constantly. we're now involved. And I don't want to start a fight with anybody. We're now involved in, would-be vloggers who are all in the know, saying yes, it's 99%. He's here. He's coming. Steven Gerrard, the Messiah. He's going to be there. People who haven't got a Scooby are just on everywhere, because this is the land of fake news and nonsense that this guy was coming to Rangers. I said when the news broke that he wasn't coming to Rangers, they've dodged a bullet. I know there's people mourning. I know there's people talking about Steven Gerrard. Oh, it's great. He's coming to Rangers. He's going to turn the whole club around. Well, he's not coming. And I think in the end, it could be a good thing for Rangers. Discuss.
Well, he was the number one choice, I would say, the majority of Rangers supporters. He's the one that would have stabilised everything that was going on. I don't think you'd had many boos or anybody at the doors saying, no, we don't want you, or anything like that. So from that aspect, yeah, I think it would have been a good appointment. But what it's done now is it's just left it open. Why? Why is he not coming? And everybody's guessing, obviously. They're talking about in Dubai, money he would have to pay out. His wife didn't want to come here. The 5-year project. We're all waiting to see if we will know
see that now.
the divining thing of why. But he's the only one that can. We're now guessing now, but he's the only one that can tell us the reasons why it's a no.
Well, there are rumours.
Yes, there is rumours, and there was earlier last week saying that he was still getting paid over in Saudi, which I always felt would be a stumbling block if there was a big tax implication. And I was one of the ones that I thought it would be a popular choice due to the fact that he was across the board, the majority of fans. Now, I know there'll be guys on here coming on, I didn't want him anyway. And there would have been an element of that, but I think the large majority of fans would have accepted Steven back. I think it's been a bruising encounter for Rangers, the way it's played out. I don't think it's helped the owners in any shape or form that it's played out in the way it has. Because it looked as if it was quite far down the road. I'm not sure either that we've left the door open. If that same popular vote amongst the Rangers fans would be as welcoming for Steven, having knocked it back in the summer, for what we're led to believe, and also the weekend there. So I don't think he'd be welcomed back in the same vein, having been given a couple of opportunities and passed it up. Yeah. So I'm fascinated about the whole dynamic of this, because the agent. So as an example, an agent, his representatives will spoke to the board, the director of football, about what the role entailed, the parameters of the new working model within there. He's travelling from, and I'm led to believe he travelled in and out in a day. So it wasn't as if he was hanging about. It was like due to the restrictions of the travelling that you're allowed per year. So he knew all these parameters because the time was of the essence. And I'm fascinated that it got to that, the timing doesn't seem right. So somewhere along the ways, it's fallen down in either a couple of points. Whether we ever get that, I don't know. But regardless of that, Peter, whether I've dodged a bullet, we'll never know, because it's all pie in the sky now. It's who they get next. And then when you look at the actual runners and riders that are doing the rounds, there's not many really, you're going, wow.
Yeah.
We look at maybe about half a dozen potential ones. Potter, potentially, if he could reignite his early managerial form with when he was in Sweden and Brighton. Yeah, that was his two kind of good trajectory, and then he's obviously had a couple of tougher ones at Chelsea and West Ham. So he potentially could be, but Sean Dyche was mentioned early in the proceedings, and he quickly took his cell out the firing line from that. That could have been an interesting one. But I'm not overly infused. But again, we don't know the people who are actually putting their names in the hat.
How do they spin it to the supporters? How do they spin? We're not wanting somebody we don't like, because you've already seen if they don't like them, what's going to happen.
You have to. The ultimate thing here that Alec mentioned here, and he touched on it, is quite simply, a lot of supporters are looking now after having, an air of excitement, and I'm talking about Rangers fans who are looking and saying, okay, we're excited by it because of what he's done before in stopping the 10. The ultimate thing here, regardless of all the rumours, is quite simply two elements that I think are undeniable. Money. It was either money to satisfy him for his personal wealth, or money that he's going to have to do to get the job done. And within that money, there's the other element of it, which he's undoubtedly asked the question on, is the structure. And the structure is that Kevin Thelwell and his son are in there, and they are sporting director, and they will pick players. So all of that is in the mix that he's got to look at. He's got to look, can I bring my backroom team? How much is that going to cost? This is what I'm going to have for my wages. Bearing in mind, there is undoubtedly a payoff from Dubai when he was managing in Saudi Arabia. And then what am I going to get as a fighting fund to try and dislodge Celtic from the number one position? All of those questions will be in for the reasoning as why they can't meet his demands. Ultimately, at the end of it, money the driving force for him, for his fighting fund, and at the end of it, he probably would have looked and said to himself, and I'm only speculating, the team. Am I going to get to bring in what I want? Because if he gets to get what he wants, if Steven Gerrard had come out of that meeting and said, right, I've got the money, and I've also got the fact that I pick the players I want, that destabilises the role immediately of a young man who's come in off the back of his dad. Those two are null and void.
Yeah.
They're out of the equation, Alex.
No, and I think there's a lot of, it could have been this, it could have been that, it could have been money, it could be recruitment. But I'm fascinated because see, just take one of the points. See if the recruitment was that the director of football, Farewell, or head of football operations, whatever his title is, and his son are picking the players. That would most certainly have been relayed to Steven Gerrard before he trapped. So unless he thought he could maybe change their mind, in terms of, let me pick my players.
Yeah. What was the process with Philippe Clement and yourself?
No, I think Philippe had pretty much had the say. Peter, the problem, and I know we're digressing a little bit, but the problem with Philippe was that the money that was there, it was like, we need to take players now and maybe pay a year down the line and all this stuff. So there wasn't really, because at that particular time, the old board were looking to get out of Dodge.
Yes.
So it was almost like paying Peter to
Six
pay
people with their hands, not their hands in the till, but their hands on the till.
Yes, they weren't for, and again, as I said, it was a 20% reduction in the playing budget, so everything was getting carved back. So I wish we had the hand that Russell Martin had in terms of being able to buy all these players. It would have been a different proposition, I think. But ultimately, and then again, it was sold to Philippe at that particular time as buy young, develop, and then become more of a selling model similar to what Celtic did. And when you look at it after a year, Jefte moved for a considerable increase, and Eagleman moved for good dough as well. So that kind of model kind of worked a little bit. So, yeah. But again, at the end of the day, at Rangers it's about winning games, Peter, and it always will be because of the demands. So again, we're just back to square one, and it's interesting. We were talking about last week about the potential candidates as well, and you were going, "Oh, it'll definitely be done by the Dundee United game."
Yeah,
that doesn't look as if that's going to happen for me now. I think that'll be a big ask.
Well, can I just say something to you?
Maybe Treadwell and his son, maybe in the dugout.
His name's Thelwell, but never mind.
Thelwell.
I have to say, it's interesting that you say that, because I think there's a need to get the manager in quickly.
Well, do you know?
Could you leave Stephen Smith? No harm to the boy.
No, that's
right. Could you leave Stephen Smith and let Rangers take on Dundee United and slip further behind, and then you tell the new manager, by the way, you're 14 points behind. If they lose, you're potentially 14 points behind Hearts, and Celtic are way ahead of you as well.
I like that.
Right, that season off.
I like that way you've posed that question. Because, and I agree, I think it's a really interesting proposition that actually faces the board, because you're saying Stephen Smith, and Stephen was in there when myself and Steve Davis with Brian Gilmore, so they two boys have been in about that.
Yep.
All being that Davo was kind of overseeing it. So you do make a really interesting point. But then you have this recruitment process that's kind of put you behind the eight ball. where you're thinking, right, okay, potentially Stephen's going to get the job, he'll be in the building within a couple of days, and then you're having to go back down this process again, and these processes take all sorts of time.
Yeah.
So that was what I was trying to say last Monday, Peter. I didn't quite think, do you think someone will be in? Because these things never go as plain sailing as you would like.
No, but I think what happened was, I think sometimes you get on a roller coaster and you've got no control over the speed or the undulations of the madness that unfolds.
Yeah.
And what happened was you had a really unhappy Rangers support who were at that point gathering in numbers, not to the numbers where it starts to become worrying, but gathering in numbers outside the doors,
Yeah.
giving it, by the way, get rid of Patrick Stewart, get rid of Kevin, and obviously get Russell Martin right out the door. So you have that real growing unrest. You have fans leaving early because they're not happy with what they're watching. And then you have a board and Andrew Kavanagh flying in who's saying, I need to get a gauge.
The feel for it.
The fuel for this is. And then he says to himself, right, let's get him over. And then all of a sudden it's leaked out, he's the man.
Yeah.
And suddenly you can't control it.
Yeah.
And then I'm saying to myself, well, if he's the man, they're going to try and move this quickly along because Dundee United's coming.
I know.
And also, the league title could be gone.
No, but
You
Peter,
know?
I says a couple of minutes ago, the weekend was a really bruising experience for the board because they felt as if they had their man. It was a case of the process was almost done and dusted, and then I'll say the 11th hour, but somewhere down the road it kind of collapses, and then you think to yourself, here we go again. And again, and you see when you gauge the feeling with the Rangers fans, it's been a tough one because they're going, and it's a sickening experience because they're feeling as if we need to get this club going.
Yeah.
There was real expectation in the summer, the 49ers and the billionaires, and we're going to have all this money, and they did throw a few quid at it.
Yeah.
But if you look at the actual on-field performances, it hasn't been brilliant by too many. I think Gassama's probably been the standout one, but other than that, you're thinking, whoa. So that hasn't really kind of caught fire either. So for me, the time is of the essence. I understand the pressing need for this, but they have to get it right because they see if they don't get this one right, then you talk about people gathering outside the building, it will gather momentum. That.
And do you think any of these names that are going to thrown about are going to achieve that?
Oh, well, as I said to you, I wasn't particularly excited about too many. We've seen about half a dozen, and some of them are the usual suspects. Muscat, McInnes, Potter was the one that kind of stood out. I was privy to some information that when Sean Dyche left Burnley, and he has this type of profile, done a really good job. I was sharing a flat with a friend of his, and we were talking about, is the big man going to get back in and all that? And these guys are not really, see if the project doesn't quite rock their boat, they're not jumping in. And he was being patient, he'd been offered good jobs, and you're thinking, why is he not going back in? And then all of a sudden he's back in at Everton. Do you know what I mean? So these guys are not for jumping into things they don't think so.
Yeah, but do you know why they're in that situation?
Because they're loaded.
They're millionaires.
Multi-millionaires, yeah.
See, you could be a crap manager in the Premiership in England and you could sit and pick your next job. You can fail and be a multi-millionaire in those jobs. And with that in mind, now they are under pressure. Now he is under pressure because he's got to pick the right man. If he doesn't pick the right man, they'll be calling for heads that have got to roll. The only thing I would say to you on this is that everything is based on the premise that whatever Rangers do, it's all geared towards success. Steven Gerrard's coming back. That's it. It's going to be absolutely magnificent. Not once did anybody say, wait a minute, he's coming back, but do you think all these other dumplings are going to sit and do nothing? Do you think Celtic are going to sit and go, oh, Steven Gerrard, we're scared? Do you know what I mean?
No.
And Hearts have got their act together, and you're saying, well, could a Hibs, could a Dundee United, could an Aberdeen suddenly, get their act together? The boy Dave Cormack has thrown a bit of money at Aberdeen, and they are bang average. Are they going to get better? Can Hibs turn draws into wins? Can Derek McInnes keep it going? And ultimately, if you have a look at the runners and riders, for the job. Danny Roll, evens. Slaven Bilic 6-1. Kevin Muscat 7-1. Derek McInnes 9-1. Rafael Viski 9-1. Graham Potter 9-1. Now, of all of those, you're looking, you're saying, and I agree with you, Alec, it's not exactly setting the heather on fire. Danny Roll, the favourite, and he got Sheffield Wednesday
Mid-table.
to 12th.
Well, that's interesting because we get sacked at Blackpool when we were in 13th.
Yeah.
Do you know, so it just puts it into context. That's roughly when we get punted with Blackpool at that particular time. So I said Potter, and the point I was trying to make about Sean Dyche was would he be willing to come?
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to make the point of that.
By that point, does Sean Dyche take himself out of the mix because he's suddenly been made aware of here are the parameters, here's what this offering is? Do you think somebody have tipped him the wink?
No, I would suggest that there's potentially a job in England that he may well have his eyes on, round about the East Midlands.
Right, okay.
Notts Forest.
Right.
He's been linked to that. So these guys are no, with the greatest respect to Scottish football, they might go, a bit of a road, nah. And as you say, they've been used to that kind of limelight in the English Premiership, which... But again, this all boils down to the hunger of the manager. That's got to play a part. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this guy said, sorry, that's not, I thought it was still Stephen, but what I'm saying is Stephen had an opportunity to resurrect his managerial career at a chance, and then he's got owners that you would like to think over, because they're here for the duration, you'd like to think that he could potentially build something over a period of time. He would get backing from American owners that would potentially throw money. So again, it will boil down, as I'm saying to you, Potter might go, nah, I've already done a couple of stints, he's just Chelsea, West Ham. And as you said, they're probably still getting paid for these clubs as well.
Yeah.
So money's not the motivation. So again, it goes back to what is the right fit for Rangers.
And would you be able to, as a Rangers at this moment, in their current predicament, Ruffy, would you be able to go across the from the west to the east, chap Hearts' door, and say to Derek McInnes, listen, we know you knocked us back before, the previous guy's done it 3 times, are you willing
Well,
to...
again, they knocked it back before. It's something supporters seemingly always remember. You know, you had your chance before. He's riding high just now. You know, a lot of supporters will give him that benefit of the doubt. But I don't care who it is that comes in. He's got to win games. That's the be all and end all. If they don't like him, if he's winning games, they'll get to like him. So it's the important thing for me is whoever comes in has got to start winning games.
Stuart Robertson says, who wants the job after what happened at the weekend? He reckons it's toxic. It's never as bad as it seems. I
don't.
always think...
What do you mean by toxic? Because of, you know, because see, the thing is, it's like, it's still a big, and I know people have been saying over the weekend it doesn't have quite have the pull, but there must be some managers are thinking, do you know what I mean? They realise the magnitude of the club.
Alec,
50,000 fans.
Moyes is sitting there for our straight talk last week, and it's going to be released tomorrow, and it's a really good listen. If you listen to David Moyes on the football show tomorrow, 100 people are after the Rangers job. The Rangers job's a big job. It's not the fact that it's toxic. All I would say is there is a big question mark over the way the 49ers have got to get used to running this business with the demands and expectations of a support who believe that they should be top of the pile.
Absolutely. And the thing is, but again, you know, I'm sure they would have looked in and they've obviously spoken to people. And so say as an example, so say you're talking to a John Brown and you're trying to get, because these guys are no daft, they'll be looking at the landscape, and when you talk to former players and guys that have got a bit of stature, won 9 titles in a trot, you get a feeling for what this club's about. But until you've actually experienced it, because they'll be going, what's going on here? You know, people going round the bus, like a couple of thousand people outside the game, protesting before the game. They're going, what's going on? Yeah. I'm not sure these guys would have sampled what this is all about. And this is the tip of the iceberg, because they're pretty kind of mild at the moment. It can get a lot worse for them. So they need to pick up the atmosphere and the landscape that they're actually dealing in and grasp the magnitude of the job at hand.
Yeah, but Andrew Cavan and Parag Marag will undoubtedly be sitting down saying, listen, we're going to run this like a business. This is where I think the emotion, the fan attachment that used to be there on the board when you had to deal with them, it's gone.
But
This is a group who are looking at it as a business. What they are, and I think you're right in you're pointing out, is they are now saying to themselves, well, it's a business, but it comes with real complexities of a fan base who are not going to tolerate,
Mediocrity, absolutely, Peter.
And I think that's where the real pressure
But
comes.
I think there's still, you talk about I'm sure that there's still directors on the board who have a real leaning towards the club. Guys that just didn't sell their shares, and they're still very much in that. Clearly, they're not making the decision making, but these guys should be tapping into say with them just to get a feel for the landscape, what this club entails.
Who would you, and I asked you last week on the show.
Did I duck out? It's not like me.
You didn't duck out of it. You actually said you would actually back Gerrard if he came in.
Yes.
You would like to see of everything that was being suggested at the time. You plumped for Gerrard. So he's not there.
Yeah.
So I ask you the question again. On the basis that suddenly Andrew Kavanagh might come out of left field with his board and say, this is the guy who's not the names that we've put there. With the names that are there, or do you want to offer another as a suggestion, or another move as a suggestion? Who would you like to be the Rangers manager?
Listen, I haven't paid a great deal of attention in terms of go and get him or go and get that. But see the boy Potter, partly because you talk about success. Now, see if you look at a manager over 4-6 posts, there's going to be a couple that he's a bit rocky. So if he could reenact what he did in his early part of his tenure in Sweden and obviously down in Brighton, then out of that group, he would be the one. But I'm saying this loosely because I'm not even sure these guys would actually entertain Rangers because of the level that they've actually been managing at.
Pete Lawrence says Derek McInnes has been the man for some time now. I can't see it happening, but I hope they approach him and do all they can to get him in. John says it's the expectations of the Rangers fans that need to change. The club won't be turned around in one season. They need to be realistic about it. That's the unfortunate thing about it. You cannot change the expectations in these things. James says McInnes, they should be doing everything to try and bring him in. The ultimate thing here in this situation is quite simply, do you bring a manager in and say to him, listen, try and save the season, just start winning games, get the feel-good factor around.
He would come under that bracket.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he? Derek McInnes, without doubt, Ruffy. You look at what he's done, he's pragmatic. He's been a lot more adventurous as well with the personnel that he's had at Hearts this season. Again, the big question mark, would he leave Hearts with the backing, the support, the group of players he currently has? I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's the big conundrum. Who would you like to see as the Rangers manager? Are we going to qualify Scotland for the World Cup for the first time since 1998? I didn't think at that time when I was working at STV that I'd be waiting all this time for us to qualify for another World Cup, but nevertheless, that's where we're at. It's been a kind of a downer show, Ruffy. Sometimes I think I always think there's a laugh in here somewhere. There is, there is, but unfortunately we've got the worst after dinner speaker in the land here at the moment, so there's no laughs in any capacity, to be honest with you. He's got more laughs here in this city tonight. By the way, can I tell you something? It makes Tam be like Kevin Bridges compared to him at the moment. You've got to try and...
No, I got a wee bit of it back at the weekend on Sunday. I was out on Sunday, so I sort of got my mojo back.
He did, actually. It was the Saga Tours 100th
anniversary
get together, and all 50 of them were happy. Are you happy? Can you hear them?
That's terrible, isn't it? There's people out there watching this like that.
Absolutely. Listen, before we go, I might as well tell you the programmes we're trying to right across all our programmes, from the women's football show Pitch Perfect with Cara and Cheryl and Alison. Of course, we're bringing you the best of women's football. We've got Straight Talk. We've got the journos out there for you to enjoy. There's all sorts of one-to-ones, press conferences. Our staff are out there trying to give you as much variety as possible. Tam can't be with us today, obviously, because he's sick, Ruffy, because somebody inadvertently sent him a video of your performance at the Drumchapel Amateur 75th anniversary, and he hasn't been able to make it in. But what I would say to you is, don't miss tomorrow's show. Here's a little flavour of what you can look forward to when the Everton boss David Moyes come into the studio.
The East End of London on the open top bus was unbelievable. It really was. It was something which I'll always remember because of the amount of people were in the streets. What it done for that part of London. Where I started at Celtic was, certainly for me, was all about winning at Celtic. You know, we had to win, whether it be the youth team, whether it be the reserves, whether it be the first team, we had to win. And, you know, if we won 1-0, that was fine. They were asking why we didn't win 2-0 or why we didn't score more goals. And they were expecting more. There'll be 100 managers who want the Rangers job. So the Rangers won't be short of managers, that's for sure. It's such a big club, such a big support. It'll be attractive to so many managers. You never know how football goes. I actually thought West Ham was my last job. And also because I won a trophy. But I tell you what, I got a bug for doing it again. You know, they thought that I could maybe put another medal around my dad's neck would be something special.
David, listen, it's an absolute joy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
David Moyes, Straight Talk, now available on PLZ Premium. Yeah, and the good news is we'll be releasing the full David Moyes interview for you tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Don't miss it. It's well worth a listen, just getting an insight into him, Ruffy, and what he's doing now at that new Hill Dickinson Stadium is unbelievable.
Yeah, we've interviewed him a couple of times. Remember we interviewed him at Hampden, in between gigs, and you could just see, you know, football is a be-all and end-all for him. He's a winner, you know, he wants to be in there. And then I'm sure he'll do it where he is now.
Yeah, I've got a sneaky feeling he could win something again with Everton because all the...
It's all geared to go.
It's all geared for
get up
him,
the
isn't
way.
it?
Yeah, listen, absolutely, it's a really good club. I used to go and watch them when Bill Kenwright was in charge and Davey was there as well. So I like Davy Moyes. I love his enthusiasm. It's interesting because you think, it might be my last. Then he gets an opportunity to go to Everton, new stadium, back home. The atmosphere there is brilliant as well. I know it's a new stadium, but the actual supporters. He actually came when I was at Easter Craigs as a boy. I think he was at Celtic reserve player, and I remember thinking, "Oh, that guy's a football player."
Yeah.
So you know what I mean, and you remember that as kids, and here we are all these years later, and he's still at the top end of the game.
Future Scotland manager?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't miss it, 4 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you to so many of you. And I'll leave you with this point here, which is MCJ, who's just made it in the last couple of seconds, which I think is a great point. And again, MCJ, if you're a Hearts fan wanting us to talk about Hearts today, we've mentioned the fact that Rangers might want to steal your manager. But sometimes the show is dictated to by what the news is, Ruffy. And Scotland's certainly at the forefront of it, and Rangers as well. And MCJ says, I hope Hearts win the league. The Glasgow show every year gets very boring. Can you imagine how Scottish football would be rocked if Hearts won the league? It
would be an amazing achievement, Peter. And listen, there'll be plenty of optimism over in Edinburgh, and it would be brilliant to see someone out with the Old Firm winning it, because it would just get a real injection.
Yeah, and Don, you've got the last word. Had Manchester United been patient with David Moyes, they wouldn't be where they are now.
Good point.
There's a point to finish with. Don't miss it tomorrow, 4 o'clock on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Please, if you get a chance, there's a lot of people who watch the show and tell us they enjoy it, but they haven't yet subscribed on our main channel for Monday to Friday. It's absolutely free. If you want additional stuff with giveaways, competitions, the lot, and early access to a lot of great interviews, then why not subscribe to PLZ Premium? But thoroughly enjoyed Alex's conversation today, Ruffy. Not so much, because he's going through a really bad phase at the moment. He's got to work his way out of it and become funny again.
We just give him a wee pep talk and get him going again.
Yeah,
get him warmed up.
Let's see if we can go. Come on, Ruffy. Come on. Hey, do your sixth gag. Do the one about the dog. Thanks for watching and listening.